Welcome to this training on smart snacks in schools. I'm pleased to be here today to help shine the light on the rules and regulations that schools must follow to comply with smart snacks in schools federal USDA standards. The objectives for today's training include learning about smart snacks, learning about which foods and beverages sold at school need to meet the smart snack standards, how to tell if a snack meets the standards, reading the nutrition fact panel and ingredient list. What are the snack standards for foods? What are the smart snack standards for beverages? Entrees, fundraisers, student stores, and vending machines. And the final objective is to review compliance. If you are a school employee, parent, student, or volunteer who engages in any of the following activities: coordinating school fundraisers, managing a school store or snack bar, selling food or beverages during the school day on campus, or managing school vending machines, you play an important role in helping kids get the nutrition they need to grow and learn. Smart snack standards are a federal requirement for all foods sold outside the National School Lunch Program and School Breakfast Program. All right. Which food and beverages sold at school need to meet the Smart Snack standards? Any food or beverage sold to students at schools during the school day, other than those provided as part of the school meal program, fall under Smart Snack regulations. A few examples of food which fall under Smart Snack standards include a la carte items sold in the cafeteria, food sold by the student store, food sold in vending machines, and foods and beverages sold during fundraisers, unless these items are not intended for consumption at school. An example of that would be frozen cookie dough or frozen pizza. The school day is defined as midnight the night before to 30 minutes after the end of the school day. How to tell if the snack meets the standards. There are tools available to help assess if a food or beverage you would like to sell meet the Smart Snack standards. Here is a link to the Alliance for a Healthier, sorry. Here is a link for the Alliance for a Healthier Generation Smart Snacks product calculator. Use this tool to enter the information from the food or beverage, nutrition fact panel, and ingredient list. If the item is made from scratch, meaning there's no nutrition label, the nutrient information will need to be calculated using a nutritional analysis software system that's approved by the USDA. When using the calculator, look for the blue information icon in the Smart Snacks product calculator. These provide added information to ensure that you're getting accurate results. Reading the nutrition fact panel and ingredient list. All right, so to practice, you can enter information into the Smart Snack product calculator to see if this bag of popcorn meets the Smart Snack standards. The first step is to determine what the product is from the list of criteria included in the first question of the tool. You can click on the blue information bubbles if you're not sure. This popcorn example would be considered a snack. Next, look at the ingredients to identify the first ingredient. Popcorn is a whole grain. Next, enter the nutrition information from the nutrition fact label. The calculator will let you know if the item is compliant as shown in the image on the right. If it is compliant, the tool will allow you to type in the product information and print the results for audit records. This step is very important for student stores who must keep track of compliance for the items they sell when they have their annual district audit and for the National School Lunch and Breakfast Program when they receive their state federal meal program audit. All right, so what is this tool doing? What is it looking at? So what are the Smart Snack standards for foods? All right, so food must meet the general standards, which are they have to be a grain product that contains 50% or more whole grains by weight. In other words, the whole grain has to be the first ingredient, or the first ingredient is a fruit, vegetable, dairy food, protein food, or be a combination food that contains at least 1/4 cup fruit and or vegetable. For example, 1/4 cup of raisins with enriched pretzels. And the food must also meet the nutrition standards for calories, sodium, fat, and total sugars. Those standards are listed here on this grid. So in other words, any food that is going to qualify will first have to qualify under these general standards and also meet these nutrition standards for calories, sodium, total fat, saturated fat, trans fat, and total sugars by weight. If you look at this grid, you will see that for snacks, the calories have to be below 200. For sodium, the snack has to have less than 200 milligrams. For fat, it has to be below 30%, 35% of calories. Saturated fat needs to be less than 10% of the overall calories. There cannot be any trans fat in any snacks. And the sugars have to be 35% by weight or less. There are a few exemptions to make it easier to provide healthy foods for kids. Those exemptions are fresh and frozen fruits and vegetables with no added ingredients except water. So if we wanted to sell a fresh apple or have a farmer's market and sell fruits and vegetables raw, then there's no reason why we can't do that. So those would meet all of the Smart Snack standards and be a totally acceptable type of fundraiser or sale. If you wanted to sell canned fruits a la carte or as a snack, they would have to be packed in either 100% juice or light syrup with no added ingredients except water. Canned vegetables with no salt added, low sodium with no added fats. Another category that are exempt because of feedback from the public after the initial law came out is reduced fat cheese, including part skim mozzarella. So we can sell string cheese and don't have to go through the calculator for that. Nuts, seeds, or nut butters are acceptable. Apples with reduced fat cheese, as long as they maintain the calorie and sodium limits. Celery and peanut butter and unsweetened raisins, again, as long as they meet the calorie and sodium limits, you don't have to meet all of the other criteria. Whole eggs with no added fat. So if we wanted to sell hard-boiled eggs a la carte, we're able to do that. The next category would be seafood with no added fat, such as canned tuna packed in water, dried fruit with no added sugars, dried cranberries, tart cherries, or blueberries, sweetened only for processing and or palatability with no added fats. They had to add that criteria because there is no way anyone would ever eat a cranberry that didn't have sugar added to it when they'd go through the drying process. Some of these items are just unpalatable if you dry them and don't add some kind of flavoring to them. The other one would be trail mix of only dried fruits and nuts and or seeds with no added sugars or fats. So it can't be one of those trail mixes with the added candy pieces in there unless it meets all of the other Smart Snack criteria. All right, so that's food. Let's talk about beverages. Okay, so all schools, regardless of grades, can serve water with or without carbonation in any size container. Milk can be sold and milk alternatives as long as they're permitted by the USDA. There's a list of very specific USDA approved milk alternatives. And if you're ever wondering what those are, you can reach out to nutrition.services@ssd412.org, and we will find that list for you so that you can assess what milk alternatives are available for sale. Juice and diluted juice can also be served. The portion size of milk and juice can only be 8 ounces at the elementary school level and can be up to 12 ounces at the middle and high school. Izzy carbonated juice beverage is one of our most popular items, but we can't sell it at the elementary level because it's 8.4 ounces. If it was 8 ounces or less, we could also sell that at the elementary schools. High schools are allowed to sell low or no calorie beverages. This chart contains the serving size and calorie calculations to determine if the beverage being considered meets the regulations. Izzy is a carbonated juice. This product is allowable for sale at middle and high schools. Sparkling ice, Gatorade, and other sports beverages are not juice. They are low-calorie beverages. It is for this reason that they can only be sold at the middle school level. It is for this reason that they cannot be sold at the middle school level and only at the high school level. Entrees. So what is an entree? For purposes of Smart Snacks, an entree is defined as the main course of a meal that is a combination of meats or meat alternatives with whole grain rich foods, vegetables plus meat or meat alternatives, fruits plus meats or meat alternatives, meat and meat alternatives alone except for meat snacks. So beef jerky would not be considered an entree. But yogurt, low fat or reduced fat cheese, nuts, seeds, and nut or nut butters would be considered an entree. A grain only whole grain rich entree that is served as the main dish of the school breakfast program. So let's talk more about that. Sometimes schools serve extra entrees from school meals as a la carte items, which means as individual items sold outside of the school meal. These entrees do not have to meet Smart Snack standards when they are sold as an a la carte item up to 1 day after being served at school lunch or breakfast. So here's an example of how that works. If cinnamon rolls are served at school breakfast on Wednesday morning, they can also be sold as a Smart Snack on Wednesday at lunch or on Thursday without needing to meet Smart Snack standards. This does not mean that you can serve a cinnamon roll as part of a reimbursable lunch. It would not meet the meal pattern standards for lunch. But if the cinnamon roll was an approved a la carte item with a trackable button on your point of sale, it can be sold the day of and the day after as an a la carte item. Smart Snack standards must be followed not only by the Food Nutrition Services Department, but by all groups wishing to sell foods or beverages to kids during the school day. Fundraisers, student stores, and vending machines in areas that students can access them must all follow Smart Snack standards. Because Smart Snacks in Schools regulations are from the USDA, meaning they're federal regulations, and the National School Lunch and Breakfast Programs are USDA funded programs, compliance is handled through federal and state audits of our program. This means that those tasked with running federal school meal programs have the added task of ensuring all groups in the schools are complying with these rules and standards. Non-compliance could be in the form of an audit finding and possible fiscal action against the program, which would ultimately negatively impact the general fund. The Smart Snacks in School standards are the minimum requirement for nutrition standards for foods sold to students. State agencies and/or local school districts can establish stricter standards, if desired, through the district wellness policies. For example, our district policy has standards for foods served to students during classroom parties. So they go beyond the foods that are sold to recommendations beyond that purview. More information about the district wellness policy can be found on the Food and Nutrition Services webpage under the Nutrition and Wellness area. Additionally, School Board Policy 8230 and Procedure 8230P can be accessed in the Shoreline Public School District Board Policy Manual.